Let's get started with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a lot to be thankful for. Maria, if you'll lead us in invocation, please.
Dear Father God, bless us as we gather here today. May you be present in the mouths of all who speak, in the ears of all who listen, and at the heart of all we say and do. We ask this in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Maria. So we'll call the workshop to order.
Yes, sir. Chairman of Directors, the first item on your workshop agenda is review of fiscal year 2025 financial statement and independent auditor's report for the Hidalgo County Regional Mobility Authority. We have Luis Lopez with Burton McCumber Logoria here to make a presentation.
All right. Welcome, Luis, BML.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, Chairman, Directors. My name is, again, Luis Lopez. I'm a partner with Burton McCumber and Longoria. Before we get into the financial statements themselves, I'd like to go over, you should have a 4-page stapled letter. Professional standards require that we communicate certain items to the governing body, and that's the purpose of this letter. Now, my intent is not to read through the whole letter. I'm going to give you a bullet point version of it. So we do confirm that we did audit the financial statements of Hidalgo County Regional Mobility Authority for the year ended December 31st, 2025. Our audit was conducted in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, government auditing standards, and the uniform guidance. The letter conveys to you that the significant accounting policies used by management in preparing the financial report are disclosed in Note 1 to the financial statements. For 2025, there was one new accounting standard that was implemented. It did not have a material impact on any balances or any disclosures included within the report. These financial statements, as any other financial statements, do include accounting estimates. As it relates to the authority, given the volume of capital assets that you have, the most significant accounting estimates relate to capital assets. So those are things like assigning a useful life to an asset once it's placed in service to determine how much to depreciate each year. Generally accepted accounting standards also require management to evaluate assets for impairment. And so we'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute regarding impairment because there was an impairment loss recognized during the current year. We did not encounter any significant difficulties in completing our audit. We appreciate management's cooperation in providing the information that we need and providing it timely and in good shape. There were some adjustments posted during the audit process. There is one uncorrected misstatement. It does not make these financial statements materially misstated. The only reason I mention it is it falls within a certain threshold that requires me to just mention it. But again, it does not rise to a level that causes the financial statements to be materially misstated. We did not have any disagreements with management regarding any financial accounting, reporting, or auditing matters. And finally, at the conclusion of our audit, we did obtain a management representation letter. So that is my quick bullet point version of the letter. If anyone has any questions on that before I move on.
I just have one question, if you don't mind. You mentioned depreciation. How are you handling the depreciation on the financial statements? Have we already depreciated out all of the assets we have completed on the tollway, or how's that working?
Yeah, I think at this point, it's the IBTC, the connector
Yes, sir.
that's completed. I think there's the wetlands project that's been completed, and so those are being depreciated on a straight line basis.
Okay.
Your biggest project, the
365?
365 has not been completed, so that has not been placed in service and
Okay.
has not started being depreciated.
Okay. What are your ideas on the depreciation when it does become, are you going to do accelerated depreciation on it? Or are you going to just depreciate over a lifetime of it, or how are you going to handle it?
Yeah, so that will be based on management.
What are your recommendations?
The accounting policies say, I believe it's over 40 years
Okay.
on a straight line basis.
They say this. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
This is very trivial, but still I'll ask. The letter is signed by the firm?
Yes.
Does an individual sign off?
So
Is it common practice? You just always stamp it with the firm's?
yes, sir. The firm signs the letter and the audit report. I am the partner on the engagement, so I am responsible for
Yeah.
for this audit engagement.
Okay, all
Yes,
right.
sir.
Just wondered if that was standard practice. Thanks.
Okay, jumping right into the report, a few pages in, you have the independent auditors report. That is the letter that is on our firm letterhead. So we are rendering an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion. What that means is that the financial statements as are presented here are fairly stated in all material respects. We don't audit every single transaction. Therefore, we don't guarantee that the numbers are exact to the dollar, to the penny. But on a material basis, in our opinion, the financial statements as are presented are fairly stated. If I can divert your attention to page 11, the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. I'm going to start from the bottom, kind of work my way up, and I'm going to start with the change in net position for the year. So for the year ended December 31st, 2025, the authority had a change in net position of a decrease of 21,411,489. So you may be wondering, how do we get that large negative number? If you look a little bit further up on the page, there is a line item called impairment loss. I mentioned in the governance letter that there are accounting estimates included in these financial statements, right? One being the requirement for management to evaluate the capital assets for impairment. Do they still provide does the value on the books provide the service capacity to the future, right? And so in this particular year, management evaluated the capital assets and determined that the project has evolved from what it was initially, right? So initially there was one big loop project, and there was cost that went into planning, maybe engineering, environmental, things of that nature. And so now the project has evolved into segments. The costs included in this balance are, I believe, 15 years and older. And so management has determined that they no longer provide service capacity to the project as it has evolved to today, right? One comment to make is, I mentioned depreciation. So whether this balance gets written off, if you will, in 1 year, at some point in the future, whether if it did provide service capacity, it would end up in the expenditures at some point through depreciation expense. Any questions on that?
Do you have a calculation for that impairment loss? Does management have a calculation for the impairment loss?
Yes, management does. It's any cost incurred before, I believe, 2013.
So any cost that was incurred before 2013 totaling $31 million? Okay.
Quick question on that. I'm new to the board, but did we take an impairment charge in 2024?
I don't believe so.
2023?
No.
What about the last 20 years?
Mm.
What was different about this year versus, did you do the audit last year?
Yes, we did. So we do ask, at the end of the day, it is a management estimate. And so there's only so much we know as auditors as to what goes into that number and whether it still provides a service capacity. And so as it relates to what was different this year, uh, I'm not sure on that regard.
Yeah. And prior to 2013, pavement, it has been primarily studies that were conducted between 2006 and 2012. And those studies are old, obsolete, they're stale, they're no longer accurate because they're approaching 20 years old. In 2013 forward, we started buying right away. We started building projects, and so those assets that before that they no longer have any value. And it was basically a bunch of studies, engineering studies and environmental documents. And,
Yeah, no, I understand. I think my question is more, why did we not do it in 2013 or 2014 or 2015?
So that's
16?
that's something that basically the auditors had asked, probably since we've been doing audits, asking every year, and we wanted to make sure there was some value, but as time progressed, that value decreased, and we got to the point where the work is too old, and we can't use it any longer.
When was the impairment booked on our books? When did the impairment take place on our 2025 books? Was it in December? When did you actually book it?
I'd have to, Joe.
Because the question is, how come, like, to Director Rhodes' comment is, maybe in the future, we need to start looking at this on a quarterly basis. And so it appears on our financials. So on a quarterly basis, at least we can take a look at this and say, okay, what is happening? Is there maybe another reuse for some of this information? So we're not writing it off.
And so what happened, Director Williamson, is that in the early days, the authority tried to build the whole loop as one project.
Yes, sir.
And so all the work was done in one project. And so as we have segmented it, Section D, which is State Highway 68, IBTC 365, Section A, Section C, we've been using what's still good.
Yeah.
But it's come to the point where, when we have the consultants or the engineers or the staff look at the data, it's too old and we'd have to redo it all again, and we can't use it any longer.
So do you think we'll have some information from 2014 that we're going to put as an impairment
Probably not.
in 2026?
Starting in 2013, we're booking right away concrete pavement. We'll have some depreciation with that, but I don't know that we'll be writing off any big impairments going forward.
Any other questions on that topic?
Can you maybe explain a little more on how this number was calculated? Like, I understand it was studies, but
So in 2012, our general engineering consultant was Dannenbaum Engineering, and the board of directors commissioned them to go back and look at all the work that had been done. Actually, it's 2013, to look at all the work that had been done prior and since its inception in 2006, and the authority had spent about $26 million, and in 2013, they determined that about 21 million of it still had some value back in 2013. But as we've gone forward more than a decade, a lot of that work has lost value. But we do have an analysis and where they went through and evaluated all the work, but that was done in late 2012, early 2013.
right. But someone else did an analysis to come up with this $31 million number recently.
That was based on basically the Dannenbaum study. Yeah, and in 2013, that's when we actually issued the first debt. The authority issued the first debt, what are called the 2013 series, 2013 bonds, and that's when we actually started building projects. Actually started building a project. We built the BSIF connector and the BSIF overpass. We started buying right away for the 365 tollway. We started buying right away for the IBTC. And that's when we have some tangible assets on the books. And like I said, prior to that, we've got a bunch of studies that were done, engineering documents, environmental clearance documents that were never completed. My understanding is in about 2008, the project, the entire loop project lost momentum because there was a crash in the market, and the authority determined they couldn't finance the project. And so it kind of went into sleep mode for a few years, and then in late 2012, 2013, we started working on it again.
Do you have any idea of, Director, you finished? I'm sorry.
I'm finished. Thank you.
Okay, of course. Do you have any idea of this impairment loss? How much was transitioned or transferred into maybe an asset on the balance sheet? You say this work is not usable anymore, but of all that work that we did, how much transferred into an asset? 10 million, 5 million, 2 million?
I'd have to do a calculation.
Okay. Because I'd like to feel good at least about some transition that it went to an asset.
We did use some of the work. We were able to, the consultants going forward were able to utilize some of the work, but a lot of it had to be redone because of the time that had passed.
Interesting. Okay.
You know, it comes to mind, Pilar, in as much as we have a transition, which we'll talk a lot more about that here in just a minute, going forward in your position, the executive director position, your institutional knowledge of this is critically important. And perhaps, you know, some of what you're stating, you know, a timeline or just a page or two of historical, you know, for us to carry forward. As everyone knows, the board, you know, board members are here and then they're not, and then there's other board members. So it would be good to have your knowledge written down, and let's see if we can put that together.
Yeah, we'll put a report together for the board, kind of
Okay.
showing the timeline of work and expenditures, the big, you know, the big dollar items, and how we got to this point.
Yeah. Okay. Back to you, Luis.
Thank you. So that in itself is the biggest balance within this statement, right? And so if you go back to the change in net position, that's the reason why it's at a negative. If you didn't have that impairment this particular year, you'd be in the green for the year. Just a couple changes. I know it's difficult to evaluate as there's only 1 year presented, but just a couple big changes as compared to the prior year. Intergovernmental grants, you had 7,758,194 for the year ended December 31st, 2025. In the prior year, that was about 28.7 million, and that's just the usage of the grant funding, how the project is progressing, and how costs are being allocated to the grant. Moving up a little bit up to the sheet, operating income, you're right there, pretty much. It's very comparable to the prior year. It was an increase of 200,000 as compared to 2024. If I can take you back one page to the balance sheet. Again, it only presents 1 year, so it's a little bit difficult to give you context, but I'll try to do my best here. Some of the big changes, you'll notice there's a section for restricted assets. The total of that bucket in the current year is 112,388,594. So that balance decreased by 24.1 million as compared to the prior year, and that's normal. That's the utilization of funds that were restricted last year, bond proceeds, things of that nature. And so as the project progresses, some of those assets are being used for the construction of the 365 tollway. Again, your capital assets continues to be the largest asset on the balance sheet, primarily your construction in progress. Despite that write-off of 31.3 million For the year ended December 31st, 2025, there was an increase of $60.1 million, again, related to the 365 tollway. So on a net basis, you net the total construction cost for the year of 60.1 million, decrease that impairment loss of 31.3. So the overall net change as compared to the prior year is an increase of 28.5 million. Again, you do have some debt on the books. Your debt decreased slightly as compared to the prior year due to payments made during the year. It decreased by 1.8 million compared to the prior year. As auditors, we're usually historians, right? We always look at a time in the past. If I could just make a comment on a forward-looking comment or statement is, I know when the 2022 bonds were issued, the idea was that the project would be completed and the toll road would be operational, I believe, January 1st of 2026. So I know that there's some delays and it's anticipated to be completed later on this year. And I think the RMA is okay, right? But just keeping an eye on the future, make sure that there's no further delays that keeps that toll revenue being pushed more and more down the road. Because I think that's also considered, some of those toll revenues are expected to be used for the repayment of debt at some point in the future.
Yeah, I appreciate the comment, and I think staff has monitored that and studied that along the way. As far as any kind of report or statement on that, Pilar, do we need? I know you talked about that in previous meetings, and we're monitoring as we go forward.
Yes, sir.
But-
We still continue to monitor it. We do have some reserves that we can utilize for that debt service if the board needs to do that. However, we prefer that we don't dip into it if we don't have to. So.
And we'll speak to that. Let me let you finish your report, and we'll make a comment on that in just a bit.
Thank you. And then lastly, on that page, your overall net position for the year is 139,142,112. So healthy net position from that regard. And then lastly, if I can turn your attention to page 34, I like to go over this page because it just provides an overall summary. Again, we did issue an unmodified clean opinion, so check there. As it relates to any findings related to internal controls or financial reporting, we have none to report. Any non-compliance material to the financial statements, again, we have none to report, so check there, check the box there. We did audit the highway planning and construction program. As I mentioned previously, you had about 7.7 million of federal expenditures and revenue related to that grant. So we did audit that program for the year in accordance with the uniform guidance, which is referred to as a single audit. We did not have any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, and also no instances of non-compliance to report. That concludes my presentation. I do just want to, my understanding is this is Mr. Rodriguez's last meeting, so I want to thank him. I know it's a team effort. Mr. Rodriguez, his staff, and the entire board, it's a massive undertaking what you all are doing, the project and how it's shaping the valley in the future and really the whole region. And so I want to thank Pilar for his professionalism throughout the years and wish him luck in the future.
Absolutely.
That's noted, and thank you very much. Anything else,
Go
ahead. Director Ochoa?
I guess what I would like to see is in the future, when this is reporting, you have some comparables. Like you said, there's some new board members, and even the ones that have been here a while
Right.
would help to know what happened within the time period. As you said, you mentioned several percentages, decreases and increases. So I would like to see that in your future presentations.
Yeah, what we can do is prepare some slides for you all. I know the way that the financials are presented, they don't provide comparative information, but we can definitely create a PowerPoint slide that shows some of that comparative data.
I think that would help some of us bring it.
Yes, sir.
And the other one is, and maybe it's my mistake on it, but I would believe it'd be good for the board to receive this way in advance for us, so that we'd be able to be more educated and being able to ask questions. Being presented with this from all this information is just, not.
Yes.
I don't agree with it.
So the only comment I can add there is that TxDOT requires us to submit the audit 90 days after, 120 days after. After
Okay.
the close of the fiscal year. So we're required by statute to turn in our audit within 120 days of the close of the fiscal year. And so we really have to crunch the numbers and get the auditors all the data, and so that he can do his evaluation. And, we try to get it done by the end of March or early April, because it's due at the end of this month. And so that's the timeline that we're always up against every year, is they give us a very short amount of time to turn it in.
I still think that it'd probably be proper for the board to be able to receive this information way before this meeting.
Yes, sir. The only other response I can tell you, we were working on the audit as late as last week to try to wrap it up, so.
Good comment, Director Ochoa. Noted. Anything else? All done? Well, we'll accept a clean opinion, and thank you for your report. All right. Next item, Pilar.
Our workshop item number 2 is a review of the fiscal year 2025 compliance report for the Hidalgo County Regional Mobility Authority. In your packet, your workshop packet, workshop item number 2 is a 1-page compliance report that we are required to turn into TxDOT. It's required under the Texas Administrative Code, Title 43, Part 1, Chapter 26, Subchapter G. And this is an action item on your regular agenda because they require the board to certify this report. But basically, we're in compliance. There's a couple of items that are not applicable, which is the second bullet from the top is the annual financial information and notices of material events required to be disclosed under Rule 15C2-12 of the SEC. So that's not applicable. And then the third item, to the extent not disclosed in another report required in this compliance report, a statement of any surplus revenue held by the RMA and a summary of how it intends to use the surplus revenue. That's not applicable because we're not collecting tolls yet. It's not applicable to our vehicle registration fees or our permit fees. It will be applicable to the toll revenues. So you can see we're in compliance with all the requirements.
Any comments or question on that item?
It just states here that the independent auditors report available to all interested parties. How do you display that, or how do you provide that
So
to
that
them?
it's posted on
Online?
our websites, and it's available for viewing in person in our office.
You don't have to make special arrangements to deliver a copy to them or anything? Okay. But you do anyway? Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Okay, Pilar. Next item.
Next item is workshop item number 3, quarterly investment report for the period ending March 31st, 2026. In your packet is the quarterly investment reports, chairman, directors. Under our local government investment pool, you can see we were receiving a weighted average yield of 3.82%. And then under our government securities, 3.32%. Our interest earned for this quarter was $948,426. And so we were almost at $1 million in earned interest for the quarter.
Okay. Any questions, further comment? Hearing none. Pilar,
Yes, sir.
thank you. Next item.
Workshop item number 4 is a presentation by the Rio Grande Valley MPO Mr. Michael Medina with the MPO is here to make a presentation to the Board of Directors.
Very good. Welcome, Mr. Medina. Nice
Thank
to
you.
see you in the
Thank you,
house.
Mr. Chairman,
And
directors.
appreciate you being here.
I'm Michael Medina. I'm the Executive Director. And on behalf of the Transportation Policy Board, we thank you for allowing us to make a short presentation of all the activities that the MPO has done over the last year and a half to comply with all the federal requirements.
Let's see.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Thank you. I'm the new guy. So a brief overview of the MPO's activities is that just a quick thing from the RGB MPO perspective in terms of our requirements and the activities that we're required to do as based on federal requirements. We'll talk about our planning documents, the projected funding for all our projects that we have. We also introduced a 10-year plan that is part of our requirement as part of our long-range plan. We also call this the leveling effort. And we've also implemented a project readiness report across 10 years that evaluates all projects that the policy board has approved. Along with that, we also require an electronic project request form. And we are talking about now initiatives. One that we'll get into talks about 3 projects that we call the Northern Relief Route. And then lastly, one of the reasons we are very glad to be here to make the presentation is to talk about the PEL study, or as we call it, the Planning Environmental Linkage Study for Hidalgo County West Loop project. As some of you may know, the MPO several years back joined, and so there was 3 MPOs that merged to become the RGV MPO. And so we cover a great deal of Cameron County, Hidalgo County, along with a section of Stark County. Along with this is that we have a transportation policy board, and just recently the policy board allowed for an executive committee to be part of the organization. And then we also have a technical advisory committee, and we have representatives of about 20 agencies that have a way of how we can make recommendations to the policy board by way of technical recommendations dealing with projects, and of course, how to have the funding appropriated for those projects. The MPO is required under federal rules to develop certain planning documents. The first one is the Unified Planning Work Program. This is our 2-year work activity. We list all the activities that the MPO will be conducting in 2 years. The next one is the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. This is at a minimum a 20-year plan to include all projects that are either of national or regional significance. The next plan is the Transportation Improvement Plan or Program, the TIP. And this is where really the money is at. This is a 4-period. It's the first 4 years of the 10-year plan. And the 10-year plan is also a requirement. We also know that as the Unified Transportation Program for TxDOT. Along with this, we are also required to have what is known as the Public Participation Plan. This plan allows for the public to engage the MPO when it comes to how we have meetings, where we have the meetings, and things of that nature. The last one is the congestion management process, or as we call it, the CMP. The CMP is a strategy that identifies certain types of projects that can be implemented to alleviate congestion. This also becomes very important in the event that the MPO becomes non-attainment. Non-attainment is a phrase that we use when we don't meet the air quality requirements. And so one of the things that we're preparing for is that in the event the MPO is designated as non-attainment for a particular matter 2.5. In terms of project funding, we utilize a projection that we received from TxDOT, as we know it, the Unified Transportation Program, and that is a 10-year plan. We have an equivalent that we also call a 10-year plan. Then we have the MTP and the TIP. So essentially, all projects that are of national or regional significance should be in this plan. This allows us to identify the funding for all said projects and then accelerate them if needed, if their funding becomes available. But more importantly now is that we are looking at projects from the perspective or lens of project readiness. And so currently right now, we have about $7 billion in highway projects in our MTP, $138 million in transit. And in the tip, from the highway perspective, we have about 1.2 billion, and then in transit, 138 million. One of the exercises when we started to develop our long-range plan is that when the three MPOs merged, there were, of course, priorities from the two MPOs. And so what we did in coordination with our subcommittee from the technical committee is that we developed a mechanism to identify the priority of all these projects in relationship to readiness. So there is a technical term that we developed. It's very fancy. We call it spreading the jelly. And so the idea is that we wanted to preserve all the projects that the policy boards, whether they came from the Brownsville MPO, the Harlingen San Benito, and of course the Hidalgo County MPOs, we wanted to make sure that we kept them in there. And so we were able to do this by identifying where the projects were initially. And so this is when I walked in this position, this is where all the projects were. So then we went through an iteration of the examination of these projects, and then we were able to fiscally constrain the entire 10 years and preserve all these projects. And so currently, right now, we really haven't lost any projects due to readiness or in terms of funding capacity. And the idea now with the readiness report that we report to the policy board every month and we develop it every month and report it back to the policy board every quarter, is to ensure that we're informing the policy board the status or the health, as we call it, of said projects. This
The
is
policy board is the one that does the enforcement on making sure that these projects are on time? Or who?
So it is a collaborative effort, sir. So what we do on our end is that we meet every month with TxDOT along with the project sponsor. And we ask certain things of where the project is. And so we use this information, then we collaborate with the technical advisory committee, and then we make the report back to the policy board every quarter, where the policy board certifies, if you will, the status of all of these projects. And so the idea is that it gives us a good interpretation of where every project is at. We remove the element of, well, my project is already ready to let, as an example. But when we look at the requirements, we may find out that, hey, you still need to acquire X amount of parcels. So your project really isn't shovel ready, as an example. So ultimately, yes, the policy board would be the body to have primacy, if you will, over the decision-making of these projects. This is an example of our project readiness report. And so right now, we have a variation of funding that we have available, but where we have the concentration is what we call Category 7. So the Category 7 is eligible under the infrastructure for roadway and of course transit. And so if you look at the QR code, you should be able to access the current project readiness report. And again, the policy board at the last board meeting certified the list. So just to walk you through, we identify what we call control section job numbers, where the project is programmed, what the project is, what it's attempting to do by way of project description. And then it also identifies the project sponsor, the type of funding that we're using, the amount that's being utilized. And then on the far right, that's where we start to get into the technical terms, if the environmental is approved, things of that nature. And then we have a listing of who is responsible for the project from the sponsoring agency to include the state. And then we have comments on the far right just to track any communication that we've seen that is necessary to inform the policy board.
Is there a minimum or maximum value of the project that would qualify for this listing if it's a smaller project or a larger project? Or all of them are on there?
Yes, sir. So there's a variation of need throughout the entire region. And so what we do is that we now require a project request form. And if I have a need, say I want to build a facility, and that facility, say, is $5 million, then I would request the MPO for that amount of money. And so there really isn't a threshold that the policy board has set forth, as long as it meets the FHWA requirement of regional or national significance.
Mr. Medina, can you?
Yes.
Go ahead, Director. Ochoa.
What percentages do you require on, say, cities or an entity requesting
So the
a
requirement.
percentage
Yes,
as
sir.
far as the project is concerned?
Yes.
What?
So in order to access the federal aid, very specifically the category 7, which is the one that we mostly utilize, it's an 80-20 split. Um, uh, Based on the call, sometimes the state may come back and say that the project is 100% being done by the state. As for example, there's another funding category that we have, and sometimes they utilize that. But the common practice from the AMPO perspective that I've always seen is always an 80-20 split. And then that could also be broken down because there's other programs that the state has that identifies a certain area as being disadvantaged. So in this area, we qualify that. So the Textile Commission may lower that 20% to their discretion. So I've seen it as low as 5%. But that would be done through a minute order through the Textile Commission.
Can you comment, Mr. Medina, on the colored column?
Yes, oh yeah. So one of the things that we also introduced, and it really wasn't for shock value, but what we were trying to utilize is a color scheme to relate the communication or the alert, as we call it. We're going to modify this to call it now the risk of a project that's being introduced by the policy board. And so what we have now is a color scheme that we identify a project that may be at risk, which would be red. If it's mid-risk, it's amber. And then if it's a low risk, it's green. The purple that you see here relates to right-of-way release letters. So one of the things that the policy board allows is for the category 7 to be utilized for right-of-way acquisition. So we needed to identify a way for us to move forward in identifying where that project is in terms of the development of the project. This becomes important because one of the things that I like to champion is that if there is a very complicated project, and it's a $100 million project, there is a mechanism for us to separate the project apart, right? So we understand that a great majority of it, say 75 million, may be the construction. We want to break it into manageable parts so that the sponsoring agency is able to work on all these across time. And so I think in here we have what we call the funnel that identifies 3 fundamental categories of how a project should move. We identify a project being in planning status, develop authority, and then of course, construct authority. And so what we're trying to do is follow the model that the state has, because if you understand how the state operates their project development, we are setting ourselves up for success.
Thank you.
This is a diagram of, in the event that somebody is interested in introducing a project to the policy board by way of a project call. And so essentially what we do is that now we are examining the request through what we call a project request form. In there, we ask everything. It's almost kind of like a cradle to grave approach to see where a project may potentially be with regard to at 0% all the way to maybe 100%. But ideally here is that we submit the project through the project request form as a relationship to the call based on the MTP or the TIP. Then the tax subcommittee reviews it. They make a recommendation to the technical body, and then that gets forward to the policy board for potential programming. Then one of the key things on the right-hand side where you see the part B, this is where we're talking about in terms where the project is with relationship to the readiness or the status of the project. And so we talk about the agreement that's executed with the state along with utilities, environmental review right away, and then of course preliminary engineering. So these are all activities that are eligible under CAT 7. One of the initiatives that we are identifying at the MPO is not only projects that are needed, say, by the municipality or respective county or of course RMAs, but also projects that we feel that may also benefit the state of Texas. Not only that, but also that I would like to say that are of national significance. And so one of the concepts that we have, we're calling it the Northern Relief Route. Early this year, I made this very similar, not so much a demonstration of this project, but I did make a presentation before the Textile Commission and informed them that we were looking at this as a regional priority From a construction perspective, we're talking about $900 million. But the idea is that we would have mobility from Stark County all the way into Cameron County by developing the State Loop 195, the I-69 connector, and the Outer Parkway. This also serves a way for us to provide relief to I-2 and of course the I-69 C and E. And so the idea for us is to put this in our planning documents in the appropriate years, develop a financial plan that we're not calling the strategic plan, along with any other needs that an RMA or the county or the municipalities may need, and make a presentation to the Textile Commission, preferably every month until they tell me to go away, because they've given me all the money that we need. But the idea is not only do we need our regional plans, but we also need a strategic plan to show our partners in Austin what we're trying to develop for the state of Texas. And then along with this is also the incorporation of all our ports of entry. So we're looking at it from the systemic approach. And if we understand what the system needs, then we can make modeling efforts to understand what else we need to incorporate as part of the vision for the policy board.
Just out of curiosity,
Yes,
when you're looking at priorities we're looking at public safety, of course, first, and then are we looking at return on investments on what these particular highways or
So yes, the answer is yes. So when it comes to as we start to develop the upcoming plan, the plan is going to be due in about 5 years. And so we're actually started already. And so the idea is that we need to understand what that return is. As an example, is that one of the ways that we can measure this, not only through a safety perspective, but also the economic development return. So one of the projects that we are looking at, like the Northern Relief Route, a lot of this would be potentially new location. So the idea is that we need to think outside the box. So I'm of the mindset that when we build an infrastructure facility, we tend to build it to a certain level of service, as we call it. One of the things that we also do is that we build the facility as it's needed at a certain point in time. One of the things from a land use perspective, we tend to forget what happens when we built the road. I always get calls to say, hey, we've just built this roadway and it's already failing, meaning that there's already congestion. So one of the things we would like to test is, can we build a facility at a certain level of service and then understand from a land use perspective how we can work with the municipalities, the counties, either by zoning ordinances or by design standards to kind of control this failure, if you will, the congestion. So you may have heard planners talk about mobility hubs. So the idea is that you would develop a roadway project that would include all forms of mobility and then phase that development out. So it's kind of like a master plan from a transportation perspective. It really hasn't been utilized here in Texas. There's a lot of examples in California. The best one that's known is called the Blueprint. And so the idea is when we built the facility to also understand what the footprint may be from a land use perspective. In my experience is that a new facility comes in and then the municipality may come in and say, hey, there's a facility, so we want to do all this commercial. And that may be so. But the idea is to integrate that land use perspective to what the facilities will potentially do so that we understand how to better utilize the land use so that the facility doesn't fail. So if we build it to a level service C, which is pretty common, we start today, we build it 5 years down the road, and before you know it, we open it up to traffic and we have congestion. So the idea is to understand from a land use perspective what we need to be doing. So there's a lot of school of thoughts from a land use perspective, but one of the things we want to explore again is something called performance-based zoning. So based on that type of school of thought, if we understand what the land use will offer, there won't be a plateau when it comes to the return. So the increase of the property will always go up in value. Whenever we have a subdivision that's developed, it plateaus. We built it, it spikes up, and then it plateaus because the maintenance goes back to the city after time. So one of the ideas is by having performance-based zoning is that the zoning can always change based on the need. It's another way of talking about it in terms of like dynamic toll lanes. So you charge based on the demand at a certain time. But you just take that idea and you move from a land use perspective. And then the one thing that we are very excited about, we had a call for projects about a year ago, and the policy board elected for the MPO to invest in developing the Hidalgo County West Loop Pell study. One of the advantages of the Pell study, this is a tool by the FHWA that allows us to utilize this approach to understand what the environmental constraints may be for any given project. And so the idea here is that based on the need of the area, the MPO in working, with the FHWA, of course, with the RMA here, is to conduct this study so that we can start this project and understand what the constraints may be from this perspective. In my experience, I also participated in another project. That initial project was about $700 million at the time. And I'm happy to report that that project was never built. It sounds ironic, but the takeaway from the Pell study is that it allowed the county and the municipalities, along with the RMA, to identify other priorities that were a lot easier to implement. And you didn't need to implement the much larger project, which is about $700 million. And in doing so, we were able to reconnect or provide better system mobility and accessibility by implementing the smaller projects. And along with that, going back to what you asked, Mr. Ochoa, is that we use econometric models to understand how the municipalities could better use that property that was being erected by having these new infrastructure projects. One of them, I think they constructed an entirely new industrial park, and they had a incentive for a free trade zone. And so ironically enough, we never saw that happening, but when we introduced the econometric model, there were smart people in the room that understood exactly what we need to be doing. So it becomes a very good way of partnering not only with all the transportation professionals, but also those folks that are involved in economic development. So when we do this, the idea is to also have somebody from an economic development perspective inform us of potential tools that we can utilize as we develop these type of strategies. I think that concludes my presentation. And of course, we have QR codes. And of course, I could be reached at any given time. Anybody's had
Any other questions of?
If you don't mind.
Yes, go ahead.
Chairman,
Director
Northern
Alonso.
Relief Route, if you can go back to that slide real
Yes,
quick.
sir.
State Loop, I-90, 195, I-69 connector, Outer Parkway. What type of roads will these be? Just, are they 2-lane? Do they vary? Some are 4-lane? What do they look like?
So I think the build out is a 4-lane facility.
4-lane.
And so again, part of our strategy is to understand what we can afford today and then have the ultimate footprint. And so if I understand correctly, that may be the ultimate, but we could probably start with the 2-lane facility today and then build our way up. Right. And I think part of the econometric modeling that I'm really interested in doing for this project is to tell us when that may become a viable scenario.
Thank you.
Anything else? While you're still at the podium, Mr. Medina,
Yes.
I'd like to take this opportunity to say publicly that Mr. Michael Medina at the MPO, I don't know, maybe a year and a half now, Michael, in your
Yes, sir.
position? Más o menos?
Yes, that's correct.
He has been a very good resource for me. I've been in his ear plenty of times, and he's always been willing and accessible. So I wanted to appreciate you, Michael. Also, it's probably known, but while he's here, I'm going to take this opportunity. I feel I'd be remiss if I didn't. As far as, the kinds of things that he's been working on over the last year and a half to get to where we are today, similar, not unlike what we've been trying to do here at the RMA as well, right? And I don't know, at least just from my perspective, we're a community. We're the RGV MPO, no longer separate. That has been wildly successful for our community in terms of funding. Very good move in the right direction. I can remember the dreams with Mr. Bill Summers back in the day when I was part of the Valley Partnership, and many people have done that. But there's been so many people along the way putting in their little parts to try to get us to where we are today, and we're growing into what we think we can become. And I really believe that. Okay, let me back up. I think it's a known thing, but just in case, I didn't know when I showed up here. I knew I had meetings on a certain day and I'm going to come here and appointed by the governor. I'm the chairman, but I didn't realize, but we have meetings because we have a seat at the MPO. The RMA, we have a vote at the MPO. That policy board, we're there and we make an effort to understand what all is happening and speak on behalf of the RMA. So does the RMA in Cameron County. So does the Cameron County itself, Hidalgo County itself. The policy board is made up of voting members, and I just wanted to stress the fact that the RMA is one. But more importantly, what I wanted to take this opportunity to say is the dream, at least mine anyway, in my opinion, the vision, I believe, is that the RMA is the board, the table that the county, all the stakeholders in the county come sit at, so that when we go to the MPO and we're making these big decisions and we're making these plans, we're going there representing the desires and the needs and the wants of the county here, in addition to what they're doing in Cameron, and we come together and work in a unified fashion. I am seeing it more and more where we are collaborating and making efforts to work together. But I just think that when we're having to talk with through TxDOT and upstream up to the state level, we're going to be a lot better off if we're talking as a unified region with goals. What did you call the three?
Northern Relief Route.
Regionally significant, very important, and that we're all behind them and we're all feeling pulling in the same direction, if you will. So again, Mr. Medina, thank you for what you're doing at the MPO, and thank you for bringing us up to speed here today.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Just with that thought in mind on it, it would be it'd be awesome if you get these different entities, the RMA, the MPOs, whoever else is involved in planning, to maybe on a 6 months or a yearly make a presentation of this particular 2-year plan, transportation plan that is done. Even I know that this board would be interested in having it, on a 6-month, come in and present what was presented, or if you would invite the different entities at one time and place. And that's the way you're going to have all of us be able to bite into what's going on, versus each entity working on its own and not knowing what's happening with the rest of it.
Yes, sir. And I think that's a very excellent point. And so actually, we're using this opportunity to kick off the initiative for me to now go across the valley to really, sell the point that we have to have unification, right? And of course, one of the things that I always like to project is that I also need to understand what the need is, not only from, of course, a board like you, but also what the public needs. Of course, they always ask me if there's money to fix potholes, and I say, well, sure, it is, right? But however, at a different level, we need to be working with the city managers, the county administrators, and of course, the elected officials to understand what the need is. There's never been a project that we've never been able to fund, in my experience, and that includes transit. But the idea here is to identify that need by going to the municipalities, going to the counties, the RMAs, and so that they have a better understanding of what the MPO is, because not all municipalities are represented at the MPO, so that becomes very important.
It'd just be interesting if we were able to get this thing together, and coming up in the year, this July, to make a presentation of what has transpired in the past year and seeing what you already put together. I think those who are interested in really serving their communities would participate in something like this on it. But I'm really glad that you're promoting and trying to get everyone together as you are, and commend you as well.
All right, thank you, sir.
Mm.
Thank you again,
Okay,
Mr. Medina.
thank you so much.
Mhm. All right. So any other item for the workshop, Pilar?
No, sir, that concludes all the items on the workshop agenda.
All right. Here, we need a motion to adjourn the workshop.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, we've adjourned the workshop. We'll call to order and make sure we have a quorum for the regular meeting. I believe we do have a
Yes,
quorum.
sir. Yes, sir, you do.
Okay, call the meeting to order. The first item that we have for our meeting today, and we spoke about this a little bit a while ago, is a proclamation. I have it here, and I'd like to take this opportunity to read the proclamation out loud. There's plenty here, but it's really important and worth listening up. So if you'll oblige me, here we go. Proclamation. Whereas Pilar Rodriguez, professional engineer, was hired by the Board of Directors of the Hidalgo County Regional Mobility Authority as the authority's first full-time executive director in April of 2012. And whereas for 14 years, Rodriguez has faithfully led the authority's development of a $3.5 billion capital improvement plan for toll road and adjacent infrastructure in Hidalgo County by building an organizational team for the authority, partnering with stakeholders, managing consultant firms, and implementing best management practices. And whereas Rodriguez has a long history of public service in the county, working for over 20 years for the city of McAllen as the Director of Traffic Operations, Public Works Director, City Engineer, and ultimately as the Assistant City Manager and Deputy Emergency Management Coordinator. And whereas Rodriguez also held positions at the City of FAR, including Interim City Engineer, Interim Public Works Director, and Fire Chief, and was selected as the City Manager for the City of Edinburgh. And whereas, in addition to his passion for government service, Rodriguez is a dedicated firefighter, serving as the Deputy Fire Chief for the City of FAR Fire Department, volunteer division for 35 years until he was named the Chief of the City of FAR's Fire Department in 2021, a position he maintains. He also serves as the Assistant Fire Chief for the Lynn San Manuel Volunteer Fire Department, a post he has held since 2016. And whereas in 1989, 93, 07, 2017, and 2019, Rodriguez was named Firefighter of the Year by the FAR Fire Department. And whereas Rodriguez's expertise in infrastructure and public safety has made him a statewide leader in emergency services, and in such recognition, the governor of the state of Texas appointed Rodriguez to serve as a trustee for the Texas Emergency Services Retirement System from 2016 through 2025. And whereas Rodriguez also served on the Environmental Engineering Program Advisory Committee at the Texas A&M University in Kingsville and the Texas Department of Emergency Management's Texas Emergency Management Advisory Committee. And whereas Rodriguez is a member of Texas Public Works Association, the State of Texas Firefighters, and Fire Marshal Association, he also served as a structure specialist for the Texas A&M Task Force 1 Urban Search and Rescue, and as a strike team leader for the Texas Public Works Response Team. And whereas the Texas Public Works Association named Rodriguez Emergency Manager of the Year in 2008, the American Public Works Association named him Emergency Manager of the Year the following year in 2009 and in 2024. The Rio Grande Valley's Women's Chamber recognized Rodriguez with their Distinguished Service Award. And whereas Rodriguez is a strong and thoughtful leader with a history of building successful teams through his stewardship, the authority has received many recognitions, including Engineering Organization of the Year in 24 by the Texas Society of Professional Engineers, and the Transparency Stars for debt obligation, traditional finances, and open government and compliance by the Texas Comptroller. Similarly, under his leadership, the FAR Fire Department received the Texas Municipal League's Excellence in Service Award, and his team was recognized by the Texas House of Representatives for their service during the devastating wildfires of 2025. And whereas Rodriguez has led the authority through its critical milestones, including breaking ground and completing its first roadway construction project, the Border Safety Inspection Facility connector, breaking ground on the 365 tollway project, and obtaining environmental clearance on the IBTC project. And whereas Rodriguez has honored Hidalgo County with his service as Executive Director of the authority, now therefore, we, the current and former chairs of the Hidalgo County Regional Mobility Authority Board of Directors, as appointed by the Governor of the State of Texas, do hereby extend our heartfelt congratulations and gratitude to Pilar Rodriguez and express our appreciation of his service and dedication to the Hidalgo County RMA and to the citizens of Hidalgo County. Passed and approved this 28th day of April 2026. Congratulations, Pilar.
Well, what can I say? Thank you for allowing me to serve. I've served under 4 chairmen and probably 24 board of directors over the last 14 years. And it's been an honor and a privilege. And I want to thank the current board for always supporting the staff and doing everything you've done to allow the projects to succeed. Thank you very much. So.
Thank you, Pilar. Okay, moving on. Any public comment?
We do not have any public comment, Chairman.
All right. Item number 1 under Chairman's report. Item A, Western Hidalgo County Loop System Development. I've tried to make it a practice periodically to just give an update on this all-important project. I said a few minutes ago that I would make a comment or two. Perhaps this is a good opportunity as any to, I don't know that we have it on here. I read it all, but formally welcome Daniel Garcia, our new Executive Director. Would you like to stand, Daniel, and be recognized? Daniel has, as far as the county loop is concerned, he has met with the president of the construction company, Pullis, I think a couple of times already. He has set up meetings to meet with the Irrigation District Number 2. I think that's tomorrow. And he's, aside from being onboarded and getting up to speed with the staff, he's hit the ground running and given a report in terms of his strategic plan to the entire board, which we're in receipt of and will be reviewing. And he's done this in the last 6 days, I think. So welcome, Daniel. And that's my report on the Western Hidalgo County Loop. All-important project. It's at the top of his priority list. And all hands on deck to continue trying to get this moving forward with our staff. Thank you and welcome, Daniel.
Thank you.
You bet. B, under Chairman's report, this is the opportunity for me to call on each of the chairs of the committees in the event they have something to report. I am heading up the admin committee, and I just gave the report. The admins committee set out to onboard a new executive director. I want to thank the directors, Peña and Ochoa, that served along with me in that process. And here we are today and moving forward. And that was part of the plan. As far as the revenue committee, do we have anything to report, Director Williamson?
We have, I've met with the staff and we continue to look at our linear parking facilities, battery storage, permit administration and municipalities. I'm still waiting for some details on some of those to outline where we are on where we can actually create some additional revenue on some of the right-of-ways and ththings like that. So as soon as the staff's able to provide me that, we can review again. I know they did go up and take a look and visit with an expo or an organization that allowed them to look at some alternative financing options. And they may provide us an update here real soon on that. So.
Thank you, Director Williamson. And I know that we're aware of the fact that Daniel also has some thoughts and ideas, and you'll be meeting with him on that. So that's good to hear. As far as the project status committee, I turn to Director Rhodes.
Yep. Thank you, Chairman. I think I shared I was traveling this past month. We're going to do a better job this month getting together. But what we're trying to get to the bottom of is we can work with Daniel is how much money do we have left to spend to finish the project? At what date are we going to run out of money if we don't finish the project by a certain date, based on the cash flows? And what's the projected finish date? So I'm trying to get to the bottom of those three things, and hopefully next month we'll come back and report on those simple updates. But the kind of in our talks with Ramon, there was some negatives, unfortunately, on the project status. So nothing good to report today.
Thank you, Director Rhodes. The fact that we have a report and that I see you're carrying around, I think it's called a chicote. So we move things along. I appreciate that. Thank you for the report. Okay, that's it under Chairman's report. Item 2, staff reports. Pilar.
Yes, item 2A and 2B are reports on program management activity by Ruben Alfaro, followed by construction activity by Ramon Navarro.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Directors. Ruben Alfaro for the record, Development Engineer. I'm going to go over report on the development activities, overweight permit summary, and some updates on the development site. So for the month of March, from March 1st, 2026 to March 31st of 2026, I'm glad to report that we have an increase from last year in the number of permits issued. We issued a total of 6,858 permits for a positive percent change of 4.51. The total amount collected for these permits was $1,440,625.98. That's a total percent change of 7.52 positive from last year. These keep in mind that it includes the fee increase for this year from $200 to $206. So that's why there's a difference between the permits and the total amount collected. Convenience fees were $27,877.98 for a total net permit fees of $1,412,748. Of that, $20,574 went to Pro Miles for administration. $1,200,835 with 80 cents went to TxDOT for the road maintenance, and then $191,338 with 20 cents went to the RMA for this month. So looking at the permit totals, you can see that this is the second month that we surpassed the amount of permits from 2025. So positive trend here, and we're happy about it. For the year from January 1st, 2026 to March 31st of 2026, we're still below 2025 numbers, but we're very close. We're only trailing for 1.42%. Total amount collected, $3,560,263 with 16 cents. Of that, $472,956 with 30 cents have gone to the RMA. So a total percent change positive in the dollar value of 1.82 because of the fee increase. So as you can see here, we're very close to 2025 numbers, not yet surpassed them, but if we continue this positive trend, we'll probably surpass them by April.
Ruben,
Finally, the accumulated.
Excuse me, Ruben. I know that we have a few new directors and perhaps they're up to speed and know this, and you did this for me several meetings ago, and I'd like to get you to just comment real quick on convenience fees and Pro Miles.
Yes, so if you look at the bottom of this slide, you can see that convenience fees is basically when a permittee pays using a credit card. So there's a 3% fee. So that's what we see in convenience fees. From Promouse, it's the software administrator for the permit system. So they charge us $3 per permit that we issue. And then on the split from the total permit fees, after we remove the Promiles, 85% goes to TxDOT for the roadway maintenance, and 15% stays with the RMA for the administration of the permit.
Very good, thanks.
Question on that convenience fees, have we ever gone out and see if we can get a better rate than 3%?
So the credit card portal is through the vendor, the software company. They're the ones that offer the credit card portal. It's not something we contract out. And so the permittees have the option to use an escrow, which the majority of them, a lot of them use escrow. They escrow the money with ProMiles, and they get charged 0 fees for that. And so that's what a lot of them do. But the credit card is still an option, so they can get a permit on the fly. Because it's an online portal, you can, as long as you got a computer terminal and a printer, you can apply for a permit, get it, and print it, and give it to the driver. And so.
Sam, I think we should look into that on that, because the 3% is pretty high. There's companies out there that'll do for less, and I understand that your software, but I would still look into it.
So the 3% doesn't come out of our revenue. That's paid by the customer.
Mm. Oh, okay. So then why is it listed here as a?
So the first part is the total amount collected, but the actual net fee after we remove the convenience fees, it's what comes out of what comes to our budget. So that's what they pay. What the customer pays is the total amount collected, but it doesn't come out of what we receive afterwards. So they pay 206 plus the 3%.
Mhm.
So it doesn't cut into 206.
Yeah, I think his question is the software vendor making money on the convenience fee?
They are.
But so they're keeping that, if they're paying the credit card company's paying them, if they're paying them 2.5%, they're making 0.5% spread, not us.
Right.
Okay.
That was it's between the software vendor and those clients that choose to use credit cards.
Yeah.
But that's the minority. The majority of them escrow the funds so that they save on the 3%.
Okay.
Thank you, Ruben, go ahead.
So finally, for the accumulated from 2014, when we started with the overweight permits to this March 31st of 2026, we have issued a total of 471,474 permits for a total amount collected of $85,203,431.16, of which the RMA has received $11,178,355.50. Any questions on the overweight?
Can we, I know I've asked this in the past and we've done, you guys have, Pilar has provided an analysis for me. I'd love to add a slide in here that would just maybe between the monthly overweight report and the permit total, a slide of the top 10 users.
Okay.
I'd like to keep a
Keep that every
count.
month?
Yeah, every month, see who's using the toll road. The
Got it.
top 10 users, it's the same individual or the same companies. That's fantastic. Have we ever reached out to them and said, thank you?
No, we have not. No.
So that's a lot of money, so number one, that for customer service. Number two, the aspect of just being able to see who's driving on these roads. I think that's important for us to see it at least once a month. Top 10, you can put the company name and maybe the amount of trucks that they put on there. And then of course, the industry. Is it produce? Is it oil? Is it dry freight? What is it? I'm sure they have that on the actual.
So the number one commodity is produce,
Yes, sir.
and your top 10 users are going to be produce.
Okay. Well, I'd like to see who they are, if
Yeah.
you don't mind. That'd be great.
We'll include it for the next one.
Thank you.
So moving on to development updates, we have completed successfully the base fee negotiations with Concert Engineers for segments A, C, E, and F. We had a very productive meeting last week for the scoping and the schedule for the future projects. They'll be preparing a work authorization for bringing to the board, hopefully for the next board meeting for a work authorization for preliminary engineering and environmental for sections A and for section C, in accordance with our strategic plan. Moving on to public outreach, we did attend the P3 conference in Dallas. This P3 conference showed us alternative delivery methods for the project in terms of financing, public-private partnerships with concessionaires, or different methods, design build, operate, maintain, different options for us to get the projects to the finish line. We met with several interesting contractors, consultants, basically to get our foot wet and see if there's options for us out there. We did receive some important information. So it's something that we want to follow up and see if that's an option that it's worth looking into further. We also attended the 2027 Texas Freight Mobility Plan workshop. This plan basically outlines the freight movements along the state. We highlighted the importance of our Hidalgo County loop and how it would impact the region here. We also highlighted the overweight permit system that we have and how it impacts the traffic movements here of freight here in the region. And we have sent them all the information that they need to include that on the plan. We're waiting for comments from them if they have any. So that's it in public outreach, and that concludes my presentation. I'm here for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions?
Did the Texas Freight Mobility Plan, did the workshop talk about the driverless 18-wheelers?
Sorry, about what?
The driverless 18-wheelers. You remember we talked about that? We talked about that. They were starting to come across the Red River maybe last year at the TxDOT. I don't know if you were in that presentation at TxDOT where that was the new.
No, it wasn't a topic of conversation, but it would be interesting.
Definitely
to hear
happening.
about that,
Yeah, interesting. Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alfaro. Next up, under staff reports, report on construction and activity for 365 Toll project, Mr. Ramon Navarro.
Good evening, Chairman, Directors, fellow colleagues. I'm here to give you a brief overview on the project status on the two concurrent projects we have on the 365 Toll project. Acknowledging Mr. Garcia as our new Executive Director. It's already done by the Chairman. And we'll jump right into the installation and system integration and maintenance project. This is the project putting in all the electronic toll collections, the bells, the whistles, the sensors that will be able to collect the data autonomously and send it to and through all the different databases and collect revenue for us, eventually getting us the cash and the money for the actual toll. As far as updates, this is an HDR managed project. And as far as the background, this is the toll system integration project. We have 4 main lane gantries, 5 ramp gantries, roadside collection systems, commercial back office system, and the integration with the third-party back office and customer service center. To date, the system has been installed as to schedule as best possible in accordance to what the civil improvements have provided us. And going into the background, CISA Tolling was given the bid at a total cost of $13,980,669. And we've had two change orders to date, kicking that into $14.6 million. On the agenda today, you have 2 additional change orders. Those are attributable to the cost delay and administrative fees. And then we have some programming amendments that we have scheduled as change order 3. That is a small minimal cost savings to the authority. Those details will be provided later through the agenda. We did not receive an invoice for this month from CISA. As per last month, the numbers are the same. We've paid $5,221,505.83, approximately 53.62% of the project. They are working diligently with us on their efforts in maintaining their crews in production. We've been working with our civil site construction company, Pullis, in being able to accommodate them through the toll pads and the gantry pads and building in the embankment, et cetera. And they've worked cooperatively with us, and we compliment CISA on being able to accommodate their crews to accompany the schedule. Speaking of the schedule, you'll see that the adjustments that have been made here, the original go-live date was on January of 26. We have that program for January of 27. Our goal is to have it wrapped up by October of this year. That would be a minimal cost savings on the proposed 1.2 million that we have going forth that would be paid on a monthly basis. We'll get into details when that change order comes before you and the board. As far as the executive summary, we continue to conduct factory acceptance testings. The April, we've done the back office tests and configurations. This is where the programming comes into play. As you know, we are in the midst of sealing the deal with Cameron County RMA as our back office, and they go through HCRMA. HCRMA will be providing the data response and feeding directly to their servers, which is what's provoking the business plan and the business rules amendments to the business rules. CISA was programming those to read some of the required assignments as far as reading license plates, et cetera. The agreement with HCRMA requires us to go through HCRMA as the office that conducts the additional work, and that's where the cost savings comes into play. We do have the subject matter expert in the house if you do have any questions when the change order comes to play, and he would be happy to entertain any questions. As far as the civil aspect of the project, as we all know, this project commenced on March 17th, 2022. It was awarded to Pullis Construction with 1,264 calendar days, working calendar days, and there was 4 exceptions or holidays, 5 holiday exceptions. Liquidated damages were costs charged at $16,500 a day. The original schedule was September 23rd of 2025. We are currently to date 215 days in liquidated damages, and looking for a schedule from our contractor, a committed schedule date or final completion date. We've executed 21 change orders to date. We still maintain approximately 6.3 million in the overall cost savings that the initial VCP process initiated. Each one of the change orders has the details attached to them there, and you all consistently go through this. We consistently go through this on a monthly basis. The new change order that was added was change order 21. Ironically, it was for a concrete driveway, which was not included in the overall plan. And now we do have that item, that added the item. You do have a change order 22 coming before you on this agenda item for additional costs for piping and our partners and our agency at the Hidalgo County Irrigation District, number 2. Project production, we continue to push them on the levees, construction of drill shafts and bridges. There has been some determinations on the encroachments that they conducted on the environmental archaeological side of things. We hope to have a report and a finding as far as what that amendment will be levied by the Historical Commission, the Texas Historical Commission, on what needs to be amended and how we will approach that. The project in general prime contractor has been put on notice that this encroachment is forthcoming and remediation is forthcoming for the encroachment, and they have accepted full responsibility for that. As far as the bridges, we still maintain the need for the 4 structures that I presented to you last month, which is Cage, Jackson, 10th Street, and I Road on the San Juan Main Canal. We continue with the retaining walls. We did have a great milestone achieved at the Jackson Road bypass. God did bless us with the rain last couple of weeks. On April 9th, we were released to put in the Jackson bypass. We successfully accomplished that in 2 days. And we have water and the bypass pumping out there. That opened up the relocation of the levee, the bridge work, the continuation and the final work on the retaining walls. Unfortunately, for the past 20 days, there's been no production in this location. Dewatering started yesterday, and we just continue to push the contractor on his inefficiencies in the field. Going forward, the overall status of the project, there is a correction to this sheet before Director Williamson cashes in on the liquidated damages. It was erroneously placed at 9 million, and it is only $3,036,000 to date. We are, like I mentioned earlier, 215 days behind in liquidated damages. That tallies up to a total of $3,547,500. Liquidated damages for this month was 31 days or $511,500. This month's payout was it was $1,385,128.07. This needs to be multiplied by 10 as per the production rate that we gave you last month and reported to be able to finish this in a timely manner. We need a $10 million estimate per month, and the contractor's producing $1.4 million. Moving on, this is the overall summary of the status. And on the production, as far as monthly contribution to the overall finished rate of the project, it went up 52/10% in production, which is extremely deficient. And on the scheduling, I know this is this was also an added exhibit. I can distribute this to the board. This was a Socotec schedule amendment that we received earlier in the month that shows you and displays the overall, I would say, jumping of the scheduling as far as the critical path. You can see here, it was one from June of 2025, and then it goes into May of 2026. We just got this new one for February of 2020, May of 2025. We got the most revised schedule from February of 2026, and now they're asking for 222 days additional time. And the overall finish date on this that they're estimating is March of 2027, which is not an acceptable term to your staff and to the board. So we've heard the marching orders, we've gotten the directives, and we are working diligently to amend these inefficiencies. And we will be working with to support Mr. Garcia in his efforts in accomplishing these goals and the directives set forth to the board. One bright side is this is a picture of the noon traffic at the BSIF coming out of the new BSIF, and you can see we've got customers waiting to take on the toll road. So we build it, they will come. That concludes my report.
Well, congratulations on that. I was out there several times in the last month, and it looks nice. It looks real nice watching those trucks come off the customs and pile on. So,
Well, thank you, Ramon. Any other
Yeah, just
questions?
a comment again, and probably direct it here to our new executive director. And this is the question has always been that we comment that a project is at a 70% completion when it's presented to us. could we do something like what maybe TxDOT is doing and saying 70% completion as of what date? So if this project is 70% complete, but really should have been 70% complete 6 months ago, so is there any way that we can get information like that sooner than telling us that we're behind on a project?
Yes, I guess what, I don't know.
You're on.
Okay. Yes, I guess what we'll do, I guess on the, obviously the contractor's behind. That March forecast, that's gonna be based off of the current production rates that they have at the moment, right? So those current production rates, that's what's forecasting out to, March 2027. I guess what we're gonna be looking at, kind of on a monthly basis. Well, first of all, we gotta push them to give us a reliable schedule. So, that's gonna be one of the things that we're gonna kind of hammer here this month, is for them to give us a reliable schedule. But then secondly, I guess what, we're gonna take a look at is, okay, well, this is the percentage that we're complete now. And then we're gonna take a look at, okay, well, I mean, when was that percentage supposed to be completed, right? To your point. So it's at 70% right now, which is, we're April, 2026. We could go back and look at the CPM and say, okay, well, that should have been, March 2025, or that should have been December 2024. But yeah, I mean, with a reliable schedule from the contractor, we could dissect that, and we could provide the board, whatever analytics, y'all wish to see. The main thing with the contractor is, we need to make certain decisions. There's some corrective work that they're disputing, right? Some of which we might take a look at, but a lot of it we're just going to say, okay, it's rejected. It didn't meet specification. It's rejected. You have to rework it, right? So at those areas of the project that they can progress and they can move forward. The irrigation district number 2, we're going to be with them tomorrow, and I guess we're gonna just take a look at, okay, what are the obstacles, right, that we have moving forward, and just act diligently, right, to make sure whatever concerns they have are addressed. But to answer your original question, yes, we could do that.
Like to know
It
what
does
percent,
require that they
by
commit to
what
us.
date, yeah.
Sure.
What percent is completion by, or should be by what date? Not when we're at 70%, but that should have been back 6 months ago or what?
Understood. And
Okay.
as Mr. Garcia reflected, we need to get a committed finish date from a schedule to analyze the original baseline schedule to be able to meet all the X's and the O's and be able to correctly schedule the production on where we are and where we're going to be. But hopefully they're moving forward to commit us to that commitment with Mr. Garcia and his discussions with Mr. Jimenez.
And then, I mean, even as of tomorrow, what we could do is we could take a look at the percentage right now. We could take a look at the original baseline schedule, and we could get your answer.
I think it would be helpful for a lot of us who are new on the board to understand where we should be.
Yes, sir.
Not where we're at today, because it's a lot of difference. Every time we come up here, I keep hearing that.
Understood.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess the top priority right now for the authority, well, I guess, for our staff, is to complete the project. It's to get the 365 tollway completed so that we begin to generate toll revenue. And, because our other interests, like letting segment 4, section 8, et cetera, is contingent that we do that. So right now that is a top priority for us.
Okay.
If you had to guess, when do you think they'll finish, Ramon?
Excuse me?
If you had to guess, when do you think they'll finish?
At this production rate, honestly, looking at the schedule, it would be 2028 and the spring of 2028 if they continue with the 1.3 million production.
Not acceptable, obviously,
No,
and so
sir.
we know that that's the marching orders, and that's what we're attempting to do.
But based on the production from the beginning of the project, that's the most likely outcome.
Thank you for your report.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Let's see. Okay. Next up, Pilar, item 3, consent agenda.
Consent agenda. Chairman, directors, all matters listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the governing body and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. However, if discussion is desired, that item or items will be removed from the consent agenda, will be considered separately.
Chairman, I'll move to accept as being recommended if there's no additions or deletions here.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, that passes unanimously. Consent agenda. Item 4, regular agenda.
Regular agenda item. Item 4A, Resolution 2026-29, approval of fiscal year, it's actually acceptance, it should read acceptance of fiscal year 2025 financial statement and independent auditor's report for the Hidalgo County Regional Mobility Authority. Staff recommends that the board accept the.
Make a motion as presented.
Second.
presented.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 4B, Resolution 2026-30, approval of the 2025 annual compliance report for the Hidalgo County Regional Mobility Authority. Staff recommends approval as presented.
So move.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That carries.
Item 4C, Resolution 2026-32. It is consideration and authorization to reimburse the Texas Department of Transportation for survey work for the State Highway 68 FM 3072 Spur 81, also known as the IBTC project, to allow for transfer of right-of-ways to TxDOT from the Hidalgo County Regional Mobility Authority. Chairman and directors, the authority did early right-of-way acquisition on the project, and we will be transferring that right-of-way to TxDOT as part of our contribution to the project. It's about $8.5 million worth of right-of-way we acquired. However, we did buy some remainders as we negotiated the right-of-way, and we were slated to pay 90% or greater damages to remainders. We acquired those remainders. So TxDOT is not interested in those remainders. They want to carve those out, and the authority stay with them. And so this survey work is so they can carve the remainders out that are outside the footprint for the roadway to remain with the authority. They're asking us to participate in the amount of, I believe it's $73,000. $73,410.54. Staff recommends approval.
Pilar, is it, if I may? Yep. Pilar, is it standard, since we're the transactions between us and the Texas Department of Transportation, to use a proposal from the TxDOT contracted surveyor? Shouldn't it be an independent surveyor, or is it standard to use a contracted surveyor?
We
from
can do it,
TxDOT?
we can do it either way.
You can do it either way?
Yeah, we can do
Okay.
it either way. I
Okay.
mean, it's a donation.
You feel comfortable with that
Yes, sir.
they're done correctly, et cetera?
Yes, sir. And those remainders are still probably going to have value for the authority in the future. They can be either resold to adjacent developments, or they could be possible revenue generators for the authority if the tracks are leased out.
How many acres is it? Do you?
That's why we're going to survey it
Okay,
to.
but you
to
don't have an
compile
idea
that.
right now at all? You don't have an idea?
We
Okay.
didn't carve them out.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't carved them out, and so that's why we need to do this. Staff recommends approval.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That carries. Next item, Pilar.
Next item is 4D, Resolution 2026-40, consideration and approval of change order number 2 to the contract with CISA Incorporated to provide toll collection system installation, integration, and maintenance for the 365 tollway project. Chairman, directors, CISA is our toll integrator, so they're installing all the toll equipment on the project. But because of the delay from the heavy highway contractor, right now we're anticipating they're going to be a year behind schedule because they're dependent on the heavy highway contractor installing gantries, for example, and certain concrete appurtenances. And so they would be entitled to overhead going beyond the original contract time. That is not of their, is basically not their fault that the heavy highway is behind schedule. And so they're basically asking extension to basically manage the project for another year. and they're requesting $1,227,043.45. Staff and HDR, which is our toll integrator consultant, has evaluated their request and thinks it's fair and reasonable, and so we're recommending approval.
Can you talk a little bit about, this is for this and the next one, 4E, because I think there's a
Yeah, so 4E is a deduct change order.
deduct change
So this
order.
one is to add basically for project administration for another year. And then 4E, I can go into that, but that'll be a deduct. It'll be a savings to the authority.
Pilar, is that, at some point when this shakes out with a contractor, I mean, are these types of items things that, we go to the contractor about? We're spending money because of their delay.
Yeah, I believe that it'll be something that the authority will have to consider as a counterclaim to the contractor,
Mhm.
of record, yes.
Yeah.
Because they are costing us money on a, I'm not gonna say it's an incidental, but it's a contract that's necessary to complete the work out there.
Mhm.
So yes, sir.
Chairman, I would imagine it would be in the contract with Polis, that it would
Correct.
state. And did y'all know if it's stated in that contract?
I would have to, I don't think it's beyond liquidated damages for them being late. I don't recall any provisions, but that doesn't mean that we couldn't entertain a claim. Yes, sir.
Mhm.
So the total value was 13.98 million.
Yes, sir. Out of that, only about 7 million is brick and mortar. The balance is for maintenance and operation after the roadway's opening, or after the roadway opens, and that's for them to maintain the toll equipment. However, we'll probably come back and pull that component out of it because we can probably find a more economical way to do that. Probably partnering with Cameron County RMA and sharing their technicians that are already maintaining their toll equipment and take it away from the contract. So we'll probably end up reducing that contract by quite a large chunk.
So the 1.2 million is just to fund, I mean, that's like 8-9% of the total contract, and it's not to buy anything, it's just for overhead?
It's overhead, yeah. 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 And it's built into the contract. If we're beyond the contract time and it's not the contractor's fault, there's provisions where they're entitled to overhead.
Yes, just to clarify, there's a few line items that are listed there in the change order. There's the first one is escalation for the remaining scope of the contract. Because the contract is being basically extended a year, all of the work that has not yet been completed needs to escalate according to the consumer price index. That is outlined in the contract. There is a contract provision. They've calculated that number correctly. Another one is the monthly fee for implementation. And you'll see that item is simply to cover the project management, the staffing that they have to continue to work on this project, the warehousing of equipment that has already been purchased that is waiting to be installed on the gantries, and that sort of thing. And I can go through additional items if you need additional.
If you could go through 3 through 8, if you don't mind, please.
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
So the disruption and inefficiency cost, this is basically the cost of having additional months of folks in the field. CSA has hired a tolling engineer that has relocated to McAllen to oversee the implementation and the installation of all of the equipment. And that person cannot just go away or be assigned to another project while this continues at a slower pace than would have been desired. They have a bucket truck. They have a car for the use of of that engineer, et cetera. That's tied into that disruption and efficiency cost. The monthly extension of hardware warranty. Basically, our contractor is warrantying all of this equipment through 1 year after go live. If anything breaks, anything is broken, they are responsible for fixing it. That warranty costs money. They have to extend that warranty, mainly because they've already purchased the equipment, which we want them to do. That locked in the price of that equipment, so we didn't hit additional escalation there. The CBOS interface, this is the commercial back office system. This is the system that CSA operates that will eventually interface with Hectra to process all of the transactions and post them to transponder accounts. That is probably the only thing that is probably not a responsibility of the contract delay. This is actually because of changes that we've made in how CSA will interface with Hectra, with a third-party back office. And then extended insurance costs, simply a pretty linear increase to the monthly cost, as well as a bond and bond extension surcharge for the extended period of time.
I've got a question. What was the original proposal from CSA on this change order, and how much has it been negotiated down?
I don't have that information with me at the moment, but
I think for future, that's important information, right? To see where it started and kind of where we end up at.
Good question.
Once it's presented.
Mhm.
I've got another question, if you don't mind,
Yeah,
Chairman.
go ahead.
Bilal, I know that on these projects, we don't have contingency, but I'm assuming that we had a reserve balance to cover any overages. And you don't have to talk in specifics, but we have this change order. We have another change order that's presented to us later in the agenda. Where are we in that reserve fund? And again, you can talk in kind of just general percentages.
So I can tell you, we haven't dipped into our reserves yet. And the reason we haven't done that is because we've had healthy returns on our investments, and we've been using that $1 million every quarter we earn to offset a lot of these costs. So we've been, the majority of these costs have been funded by the interest we've earned on our investments.
I guess my question was, at the beginning of the project, was there, 5% in reserve for overages, 10% for overages?
It was 5%.
It was 5%.
It was 5%.
And based on the change orders to date, have we blown past that 5%?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
Yes, we have. We're probably closer to 10%.
Okay.
And question, this extends through what date?
This was September, October of 2026. Yeah.
So this is through March of 27. So if we don't finish by March of 27,
No.
they'll be back.
The project is going to be substantially complete in, we're hoping it's substantially complete in October of this year, but after we go live, there's still.
So this is assuming we finish the project in October.
Yes.
So if Ramon said.
If I could clarify. So this allows for 12 months of extension. So January through October. October is when we are planning our soft go live, when we would actually be able to turn the system on and be able to start collecting revenue if the roadway is open and it's under traffic. This extension allows us to move that soft go live all the way to January 1st with revenue commencement on March 1st, if necessary. Obviously, many of these items are monthly charged, so we won't pay them if they are not incurred. But yes, essentially this will allow an extension through March 1st.
But that means we need to finish it in October.
Yeah, but you're talking about the roadway.
Yeah, I guess my question is, should we negotiate more time? Because I don't think there's any way we're gonna hit that estimate. Why we have some leverage now versus waiting and then you're gonna come back next January and hammer us even more and we have less leverage?
Opportunities of wirelessly connecting the antennas and having the system installed, maybe through Skylink or many times some other sort of methods, to be able to have the operation completed and in play. Even though the road's not finished, the toll facility the toll equipment would be installed and appropriately.
Okay, so we have a plan to finish installing this equipment even if the road doesn't get finished
Yes,
by
sir.
that date.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
thank you.
Yes. Sorry, making it complicated, but yes.
Okay, well, back to what you just mentioned. We have a plan to implement this equipment even if the road's not completed. So why do you need an extension? Why don't you just do the work? Some of it is.
Yes,
Some
sir.
of it is.
That can be achieved.
Can you
with the
continue to work
contractor.
on, continue to work on other areas that aren't key, like he's mentioning?
Yes, absolutely. So we actually just did a tour of the site yesterday.
Yes, sir.
Brought one of my colleagues from HDR. We assessed the status of the system and the implementation. They were out there installing equipment on the gantries, on the ramp gantries as expected. The problem is they have about 3 weeks worth of work to do right now that they can do. After that 3 weeks of work is done, they don't have anything else to do until additional civil heavy construction is done. So during the next 3 weeks, we're hoping additional gantries become available for the crews to then move to and start installing additional equipment. And in that way, as long as the gantries keep coming online and becoming available along with the power, et cetera, we can be live by October 1st.
So Pilar, is this really a request to increase, or is he really saying here, I'm invoking a part of the contract that says we must increase this?
Well, at this point, I think we're beyond the contract time, so we're already beyond the contract.
So
time.
if we did not approve this, what would happen?
CSA would not have the money to continue to do the operations of.
Would it be feasible for everybody to go home and then once Polis does what they need to do, they come back?
So,
And then we save $1.2 million?
Well, some of this
Or a
money
portion of it?
clearly has been spent, but there would be demobilization costs and then remobilization costs.
$100,000 more?
There's a lot of risk with that.
Okay.
So what would happen?
Educate me, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. No problem. So what would happen is we have a dedicated project manager right now from CSA. We have a crew that they have hired from CSA. If we put a stop to the contract right now, CSA would need to reallocate those resources to other projects. That's not easy to do. So there would likely be a pretty high demobilization cost.
That's contractual.
What's that?
That's contractual. That's in the contract. There's a demobilization
It's
cost.
not calculated in the contract, so
Okay.
it would have to be negotiated.
Okay, all right.
There's no guarantee that we would get those same crews back.
Okay.
We finished factory acceptance testing of mainline gantry 1 in January. The crew that did that learned a lot in the process. That is part of the toll system delivery process. Mobilization, the first gantry is where you troubleshoot everything, you solve all the problems, and you learn, and you figure out how it's going to work in this environment for this system. So we could lose a lot of that institutional knowledge that we've created as we've installed that gantry and the subsequent ramp gantries. There's quite a bit of costs here that could not go away, could not really be demobilized. For example, the warehousing cost of $2 million worth of equipment.
Yes, sir.
That's sitting there. as well as insurance costs that can't go away, the bond extension really. So a lot of these other costs would continue even if we did demobilize, reducing, I think, the benefit of doing that. We would need about, if we demobilized, we would probably need about 6 months to finish the project before go live. So, and that would be for, so we'd need to do quite a bit of math to figure out how long of a shutdown.
And that's just my point. I mean, I wish we had that math in front of us because we have option A of spending additional $1.2 million, which I'm not very happy to do. And the other side of it is spending $250,000 or $500,000, which is a savings of $700,000. I mean, it may not seem like a lot, but it is $750,000. And looking at, and I would hope that the staff would be putting these numbers together for us. What's option one and option two?
So I think that we did some rough numbers. I think we would have to shut down for about a year for it to be worth it.
Wow. And that's the technical side. I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts?
I think the other risk director
rough back of the envelope calculations we did earlier today.
Yes, sir.
I think the other risk director is we don't know when we could get them back if we ask them to demobilize.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Because if they dedicate those resources to another project, then we're at their mercy.
But they still have, the project itself is $13 million and they still have to come back and gain an extra $5 million or profit on that $5 million that they haven't completed. So.
So I'm sorry. So the next question is that could you negotiate moving the date on this so that you have more time or this timeline that you've already say it is, that's what we're thinking that's going to be completion?
I'll let somebody answer that. I was gonna
point out. Okay, let me get this question answered for Director Ochoa real quick. And then we'll get everyone up at the podium.
So this negotiation is based on when we think Polis will complete the project. That's the bottom line. Because
not the project, the components needed to finish
right
the tolling.
When they'll finish, which is basically toll gantries,
Yeah.
and then they've got some pads they've got to provide.
As long as we're confident in that, then I think.
I think it's reasonable that they've started installing gantries. The flat work that they need to do is nothing complicated. It's not continuously reinforced concrete pavement with cement treated base or anything like that. So I think the assumptions that they can get that part of it done are pretty reasonable. Andrew.
I guess my follow-up question to that, Pilar, is then if it's easy work, what is the constraint that's not letting them get it done now or to date?
Because it's in the heavy highway contract. It's in the heavy highway contract, and so CISA has to wait. The gantries are in Polis's contract, the flat work's in Polis's contract, and so Polis has to deliver those so CISA can do their work.
Polis doesn't have the crews to perform.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So we're confident between now and October, they are going to have the crews.
That's what they're telling.
No, we're not confident that they're going to have
Right.
That's the problem.
I think that goes back to
That's
next
the
point.
problem.
But I mean, we could just
This could cost us $2.5 million, maybe $3 million, or we send them home. It doesn't cost us anything except reorganization, with getting people and so forth.
But it does cost us. It does cost us.
But it could be
to send them
less,
home.
a lot less.
Okay,
Hi,
you go ahead and
Richard
introduce
Ramirez,
yourself
financial-
and
Financial advisor.
okay.
I just want to speak to demobilization because after doing 10, 12 of these projects, the biggest risk, you demobilize and then your road's ready and it's gonna delay your revenue even more because you can't get the CSA to come and do their thing. They're gonna be pretty flexible themselves as to how they allocate the resources. And there's a lot of work around the state. So I think the biggest risk is that you could miss your revenue target, which would really hurt because you don't have your gantries or your revenue system in place.
Mhm.
That's what I say.
Thank you for your comment. And let me just say, I mean, I'm appreciative of the directors on the board. Obviously, we're here doing the best we can to protect the public's interest and, you know, the funds. And I know as staff and advisors, we were relying on you folks. I think I understand you're recommending, and you got the backup recommendation, that we would move forward with this approval.
Yes, sir, but
Go
if-
ahead.
If the board would like, I think we can defer this one more meeting and get those numbers, you know, run the analysis. I don't think we'd, at the end of the day, we'd recommend that option, but if the board would like to look at those numbers, we can run some quick calculations for the demobilization scenario and remobilization, knowing the risk we run with that scenario.
Well, I appreciate that opportunity. At the same time, I don't want to, you know, discount the work that's been done by staff and our consultants, and I'll stand by to hear what the board wants to do.
Is that a motion, Mr. Chairman, to proceed?
I'm looking for one.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'll make that motion then, to move forward.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
I've got a motion and a second to move forward with the staff's recommendation. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right.
Okay, item
Noted.
4E,
Thank you.
Resolution 2026-41, consideration approval of deduct change order number 3 to the contract with CISA Incorporated to provide toll collection system installation, integration, and maintenance for the 365 Tollway project. So part of CISA's contract is to do the image review for us. At the time that we procured this, we did not have our we didn't know who was going to do it. Ultimately, we've contracted through HCRMA and HECTRA to do that for us now. And so this is an element that we can back out of CISA's contract. And so that savings is in the amount of $347,070. And so staff recommends approval of this change order.
I would recommend doing that first next time,
Second.
but I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
We were
Those
always
are a lot
told bad
easier.
news first and then the good news.
All right, Pilar, next item.
Next item. Item 4G is Resolution 2026-43, consideration and approval. Okay, no action on this item, Chairman, Directors. We asked no action on this item. We're not ready to present this item.
Okay, not
And-
presenting item G.
And
Next item.
4H either, no action on that item. We'll bring that back to the board next month.
Okay,
And then finally, the last item is 4I, Resolution 2026-48, consideration and approval of change order number 22 to that certain contract with Paulus Construction Incorporated for the 365 tollway construction. In the workshop or in his report, Ramon basically alluded to these items are at the request of Irrigation District Number 2. The items are, let me get the detail here. So they are the deduction of 2 junction boxes and the addition of, let me see, the deduction of 3 junction boxes, the addition of 5 irrigation wells to the project as requested by the irrigation district. The junction boxes did not meet their specifications. And so we're basically installing cast in place wet wells now to meet their requirements. And so this change order is in the amount of $374,094.50. Staff is recommending approval, and these are some of the items that we need to finish so that the roadway contractor can finish building the roadway. So staff recommends approval.
This is material. This is actually material.
Yes, sir.
Is there,
Paulus is, yeah. So we're basically changing out one type that they didn't approve for another type.
Is this the final request from the irrigation district, or are we expecting
We've
more?
already gone through this 3 times, board, and this last request, they've asked for 3 additional feet on the top of the structures, which is why we're eliminating the last change order. The contractor gave us credit for his last proposal, and hopefully this is the last and final.
That's what I was asking, is how many more are they gonna keep doing this? But
Every time we come to play, they come up with something different, so.
Yeah.
We tried to cover all the items as far as the galvanized grate and all the stainless steel appurtenances, and we'll see, it's in their review currently. So,
Review from the district?
sir?
The review from the district, is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
I guess I'm just asking, at some point, can they just give us a final approval?
So we've tried to do that, Director, several times where we met with them, laid out all the pending issues and, you know, basically, what do you want to bring this in compliance? Every time we've met with them and we've agreed, we thought we agreed, we've walked away from the table, we submit, they said, submit your, send us your submittal. And then when they review those, they always come back with a bunch of red lines and say, we changed our mind and it needs to be this instead. And you need to raise this invert elevation. You need to lower that invert elevation. You need to give us a new water surface elevation. We don't like this valve, change it to this valve. And those are the.
And from a leverage standpoint, do we have any ground to stand on, or are we just at their mercy for whatever they want?
We're pretty much at their mercy because it's their right of way that we're traversing over.
And then for future projects, is there a learning lesson for, can we get approval before we start that's signed by contract that they have no leverage on us?
We'll condemn them.
I think,
Upfront.
yeah, in the future, we'll have to consider condemnation.
I just want to learn from it for the next
So we
section.
do,
Let's
so we
not
do have a
let this
formal,
happen again.
we do have a formal agreement where we agreed to everything they signed and with a set of plans attached that they signed off and they changed their mind after.
We've even gone through mediation, sir, through a mediator, and even that, the betterments are still coming.
So if we could do it again, we should have just condemned the right of
Condemn them
way
up
and
front.
taken
Yes, sir.
ownership of it.
Yes,
That is
sir.
correct, yeah.
Okay.
That-
So it's a
one of the
learning
le-
lesson.
That's one of the lessons for the authority going forward. Having to deal with the irrigation district condemnation is probably the way to go.
And do that up front. Okay, thank you.
Or maybe talking to the right people that are changing their mind. Doesn't make any sense if someone told you yes, then someone else tells you no.
Director Williamson attended one of the meetings with us, and he could give you a perspective of how
No, it's literally, here, do you like the way this is? And they like it. Yes, we agree, everything's fine. And then next week they say, no, something's wrong. And it's just a continual process. It's very unprofessional and unfortunately we have to work through it so we can build this road to a point. And like you say, learn from it.
We tried to be a good neighbor, Director, you know, and that approach didn't work. And so that's one of the lessons we've learned is condemn them.
Okay.
What does that condemning process look like up front?
Basically, we exercise our condemnation authority. We negotiate the right of way, buy it from them, pay for any damages to make them whole, and then we move on down the road.
And if there are court proceedings or anything contesting it,
Yes.
it's up front.
Yeah, it's
all
up front,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, presumably, I mean, they too are, you know, they have a board and they too are serving the public, and, you know, water is very important. And, you know, it's frustrating because we're behind on this project, and no question that's been part of it. But we are still redoubling our efforts. I mean, we reported on a meeting coming up tomorrow with with Daniel and a plan to weekly, if that's what's needed. This is what we have, this is what we need to do, to try to stay in front of keeping the project moving forward. You know, at the end of the day, this road has to get done, and it's going to be very beneficial to the people they serve as well, and trying to be understanding of what it is they're doing as well. But we've got to work together to get this done. Go ahead, Pilar.
Chairman, I think Director Peña had a question.
Director Peña?
That is correct, right. Once you have the initial special commission hearing, you know, they award you, or they award whoever you condemn an amount. They can appeal it, but basically you take possession and use at that point, and you go on down the line while it goes through the appeal process. Correct.
Thank you, Director. Good comment. Anything else related to this topic? If not, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the change order.
I second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, Pilar, that
Chairman,
carries.
we have no further items for the board's consideration.
All right, do we have any tabled items? None, I see there. Item 6 then, executive session. We will go into executive session. And so we need to adjourn here, correct?
So you're going to go into.
We're going to go to
Okay,
executive
Chairman,
session.
what item would you like to go in under?
We are going to go into I'd like to keep the items that we have listed right here.
Okay. So then recommend you entertain a motion to enter into executive session
Motion to
for 6B, 6D, and 6E.
Motion.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. All right, thank you. Executive session.
Make a motion to reconvene into regular session.
I'll second.
We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, back to the meeting.
Chairman, we missed item 4F, which is Resolution 2026-42, consideration and approval of an agreement with AEP Texas to install electric distribution facilities for new electrical services for the 365 tollway. This job is for $58,737.55. This is from South Las Milpas to US 281 along the 365 toll. Staff recommends approval.
Any questions? Hear none, do I hear a motion?
So move.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's approved. Pilar, what else?
That's it, Chairman. We have no further items for your consideration.
Come back in then.
We did.
We did.
We brought it back. Okay, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of
Thank you,
your
Pilar.
evening. And Pilar,
Pilar.
thank you again. And Daniel, again, welcome. We're adjourned.